morning, good evening, happy Sunday, happy Monday. Prayerfully, everyone had an enjoyable Sunday and weekend when I saw you in here early. So, good night to you because I know you are tired. This is another edition of Doe After Dark, which is basically going to be a recap of some of the stories that have been going on this week. Hey there, Brian Black. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see everyone and those who may catch the replay. So, as I said, this is just going to be an overview of some of the latest stories that has been going on. So, let me go ahead and bow my head in silence because my boys lost again. Now, even though, and it really pains me to say this, but even though they were able to come back and pull within 3, that wasn't good enough. So anyone who wants to clown me and talk about how bad the Cowboys suck and this is going to be a very dismal season for them, you have 2 minutes to do that before I go forward with my broadcast. Because I talk a lot of stuff, and everyone knows that. And yes, I remained quiet because it hurts. It really hurts. And I'm mortified at this time. Brian Black says, Jerry gotta go. He holding y'all back. Well, Brian Black, unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen. However, the Ravens is actually a very good team. They're one of the home teams here. The 3 teams that are here, well, 2 teams rather, are the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders. And I'm not a fan of either one of them, but that may change if the Cowboys lose game number 3. It would not be difficult to bounce back after that. However, the momentum is down. And seeing as though Dak Prescott, and that's the funny thing, signed this huge contract and they have not put up a dub yet. That may be the talk on the tongues of many sportscasters later tonight, but especially tomorrow morning. And Brian says, you should be a Ravens fan. It's okay to leave Dallas. No, I have to remain a Dallas Cowboys fan. It is going to be my last wish to see them hoist the coveted Lombardi trophy. And then I can go night-night with a big old smile on my face. Yes, soul. I am a Cowboys fan. But these last two performances are making me a little bit nervous. And I cannot disagree with you. Soul 90s R&B hits. I just mentioned that earlier, and you agreed and said it's going to be a long season for the Cowboys fans. Hey there, writers, how are you? Good to see you. We have a lot to talk about tonight, but I wanted to give those who want to go ahead and clown me and make me feel worse than I already do the opportunity to get it out of your system now before I start speaking on these topics. So you have a couple of minutes to come in here and talk your mess. I'm really expecting it, and then I can move on. Soul says Cowboys are a franchise cursed with bad management ownership. The owner is all about revenue. He doesn't care about the team winning Super Bowls. Interesting. I could actually say that about Daniel Snyder, but looks like they won today, so I can't really say too much about that. I'm actually afraid to look at the standings right now, and if by chance, and I haven't looked, I'm afraid, I'm actually afraid if the Giants win or did win tonight, I'm going MIA, probably for the remainder of the week, because that's going to look really bad for the NFC East. I don't think I can make it throughout the week. I'll be teased too much. Well, it is good to see you, writers. Hopefully everything has been swell with you. So, I don't see anyone that's come in to dog me, so that's a good thing. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, and I mentioned it earlier this week, about, and he reminds me of T.D. Jakes, and he actually reminds me of Mr. Brown on Meet the Browns. Let me see what Soul says right now. Oh, I didn't say he was unique. There are numerous money first owners. The issue is that they aren't the owners of the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, with so many die-hard fans. Yes, and my hopes for them at present are dying hard. So with that being said, this was giving me issues earlier. That's why I had to back the time out. Hopefully you can see this. If not, I'll just speak on it. But let's travel to North Carolina for a quick second. This is Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who has been alleged to have made some disparaging remarks on a corn site. He referred to himself allegedly as being a black Aussie, and I'll just say Nazi, and allegedly stated that slavery wasn't bad. He has denied vehemently that he never made those remarks. However, there have been a couple of senators, and I said myself, to me, if you're running for the gubernatorial seat and you're representing a party and you were endorsed by former President Trump, seems like you would have initiated some type of legal action against CNN who broke the story. But rather, you want to remain in the race, and there's nothing wrong with that, but those types of allegations can definitely hurt your campaign and the party's campaign and also the country, as I mentioned. So let's take a listen to North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson as just maybe an hour ago. And I don't mean to laugh, but this year has been the craziest as far as this election and how things are just coming out of the closet. Key campaign staffers has made an mass exodus. So let's take a listen.
Manager, finance director, and deputy campaign manager are no longer in their roles. The development comes just days after a CNN report accused Robinson of leaving comments on a pornographic website, which included calling himself a black Nazi. In other news, the lieutenant governor has faced pressure from several members of his party to drop out. In response, Robinson posted a video on social media vowing to stay in the race. His campaign released this statement today saying in part, quote, "I appreciate the efforts of these team members who have made the difficult choice to step us away from the campaign, and I wish them well in their future endeavors. I look forward to announcing the new staff roles in the coming days." Good news is your local election.
So that is the first bit of news. And let me go ahead and do this. I actually forgot, but it'll be in the description. Fair use, viewer discretion, and trigger warning. So, any thoughts on number one? If you believe Mark Robinson is telling the truth that he didn't make said remarks on a porn site, and keep in mind this was back in 2008, but if you do your research on him, he's made other salacious remarks. And as I mentioned when I first reported on this, he has turned his life over to Jesus and followed up with, sin is fun, and he had fun for a season. So Soul 90 says, no, it's on Soul, he looks like an honorary man, and he's trying his best to get his resume approved by the WS that like to hire sellouts like Jim Clyburn and the rest of his ilk. Interesting. So, with that comment, are you saying that or implying that Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is a or indicative of a DEI hire? And if so, is that going to continue to be a stain on brown and black people who are in positions of power, because unfortunately we have seen and heard many negative comments as it relates to DEI. Um, one major one has been Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis. I have actually heard it many times, but as far as Mark Robinson, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, um, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. And as I said, he was endorsed by Trump, according to some stories. And again, I implore you to do your research. During Trump's campaign in North Carolina, it was reported that he didn't even mention Robinson. And again, key staff members packed up and left. Just thinking about the time it's going to take to, number one, vet these vacancies. It's just going to be interesting. Soul says, we have way too many people that look like us in positions of power that don't have our best interest. This guy Robinson is just another example of a person who is out for his own interests. Now, I mentioned that one time before, and I was extremely adamant about that. Another example, and I actually like her, but some of the things that I've seen as of late is having me to reassess things, and that is Marilyn Mosby. Now, she, in my opinion, even though convicted, was given a reprieve where, even though she was levied a sentence, she did not have to serve jail time, and she's already requested to make trips for job interviews out of state. Now, there's nothing wrong with seeking employment, but I'm not going to say it's a slap to the judge's face, but you haven't even been on house arrest a year, and you're asking for permission to travel out of state for potential job prospects. You've just had a barbecue a few weeks ago, so that label was placed on her as well. And it's sad because a lot of these people are actually extremely intelligent, in my opinion. They have exceeded in their education, but once they acquired these positions, somewhere or another down the line, and this doesn't apply to everyone, but the moral and ethics portion went down the drain. And Soul says, black folks in America as a whole need to become a lot more synergetic when it comes to our local and state politicians. We need to elect only those politicians who we know have our interests at heart. I agree with that, Soul. However, let me drop this now, just in case. How does one know? Because a person, especially one that is truly gifted with the gift of gab and knows how to work a room, you can see certain people on social media, and I'm not saying any names, but will look directly in the camera. They will put their faces right up to the camera lens and will be lying through their teeth, and you have some gullible people believe them. I just had to put that in there. So, Soul says these examples of off-code politicians should be few and far between. And when we see this stuff happens, the punishment for getting off code should be swift and firm. Get them out. That is true. However, hey there, Dinesh Boggs. How are you? Thank you. And everyone that comes by and may catch the replay, please, if you would be so kind, hit the like button since you're here or since you may listen to it. As I said, Soul, and to anyone else, how are you going to ensure what they say is what they're going to do? Soul says, you know, just like the politicians from other races, know their politicians won't stay up code. You vet them properly. This is true, but keep in mind, there are some of these politicians that are in bed with companies and other entities. And when I say in bed, I do not mean literally. Some of them are extremely close to members of the church. Hey there, Angie. How are you? And Lucy Warren's World. How are you doing? Thank you for stopping by. And Twin is still up. I thought you had gone night, Twin, but thank you. Well, I'm glad that you're doing well, Angie. Hey there, Moon. How are you? Good to see you. I see you are praying mantises often. My mother used to love those. And Soul says, agreed. This is why tenured elected officials is a temporary arrangement. When we see these folks getting off code, we need to come together to ensure they are off-boarded and vilified. Well, that is going to be difficult because even though we see, and there was a reporter out on the street interviewing a lot of people who knew and had heard of Mark Robinson's, I'll just say, indiscretions, and they're still behind him 100%. Now, I do not know if that is going to change now that it's reported that his campaign staff, the majority of them, high-ranking ones, as I said, have made a mass exodus. And remember, North Carolina is a very important state. This has nothing to do with his previous preference, if you will. I think what has prompted many people and may have upset many people who reported on this is that there's a strong, extremely strong possibility that he's not being truthful. And if that is the case, there is a perceived propensity of him being dishonest in other areas. Soul says, we seem to be the only race that constantly falls for the okie doke of politicians. We vote these people in with very thin track records who make noble declarations, and we wind up getting, and you could put any word in that line. That's true, but keep in mind, in Georgia, Scott McAfee, who is of a different hue, if you will, he doesn't have much experience as a judge, but he's on the stand, and many people feel as though he is not doing a good job or has been biased as it relates to DA Fonnie Willis. Now, I do not know how credible those claims may be. However, that is the stance of many people. So that is the latest on North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. Will he, by the end of the week, step down, or do you believe his ego and whatever else will keep him running for this seat? Or will he continue to face pressure from others? Soul says, the bottom line is the onus is on us to get involved, know these politicians like the back of our hand, and make sure they have a salient plan that will buoy our interests. I honestly don't see that happening 100%. And people may disagree with me, but that is truly my opinion. Think about it, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the case in D.C. as it relates to Ward 8 Council Member Trayon White. He was indicted, arrested, allegedly for accepting federal bribes. And Soul says, that's why we will continue to elect people who betray us time and time again. Again, you don't know that at first. There are people who are supporting Trayon White despite the transcripts that have been read despite the photos that looked very convincing that he accepted these envelopes from an undercover FBI informant. His vehicle, or the vehicle that clearly has Ward 8 on it, has been parked in Ward 6. And by law, you are supposed to reside in the ward for which you're a council member of. So last week, the committee stripped him of a couple of those projects he was working on. Now, he remains on the ballot, but he was stripped of those committees, and they're now being handled by council members in other wards. So that's another blemish on his future. My personal feeling, and I don't reside in D.C., I'm in Maryland, but I'm not far from D.C., Muriel Bowser needs to go. Her time there has been non-productive, in my opinion. There has been an increase in violence, drug use, corruption, a dwindling police force, and I have no idea why the people in D.C. voted her back in, but in my opinion, she needs to go. She needs to go immediately. Her office, in my opinion, should be audited, because one of her press conferences, she vowed to have more police officers on the street. They were supposed to be getting she's supposed to be getting more funds, more grants to have additional officers on the street, but it seems as though you can't pay some people now to want to be police officers in D.C. And Lucy is still here. So, next topic. I did a quick video earlier on another allegation as it relates to this Diddy story, which continues to sweep the airways. And the latest was, something else has probably come out now, but the latest was Usher and Pink. And for those of you who may not have heard of Pink, and I actually like Pink, they're both recording artists, and apparently they have, or someone in their camp may have scrubbed their ex, formerly known as Twitter, accounts of many posts. There was one report, and again, do your research because things may have changed, but there was one report that said over 7,000 of Usher's posts were deleted overnight. Now, in my opinion, and again, I could be wrong, that could have been done to perhaps clear anything that may incriminate him or someone else. And I was really surprised that Pink was another who allegedly scrubbed, or someone in her camp has scrubbed her account. Hey there, Joy. How are you? Good to see you. Or is it good morning there? I'll come by and check on you when I'm finished this. I don't plan on being on this live very long. I just wanted to go over some of the latest happening. But I hope you are doing well. And baby Daniel is doing well. But yes, I agree. And Twin, I thought you went to sleep, Twin. Let me go back up to Soul, who says it doesn't look good. Now there are some people, and I don't know if they're just optimistic, who think that, or may believe that he may either get off or perhaps less time if he gives up people, if whatever, if he decides to talk results in arrests or arraignments, indictments, I would think he would have to do something major. And then again, it may not even matter at this time. It may not even matter at this time. But I'm curious to see if other social media accounts will start to be scrubbed. Now, certainly I am not implying that one who does that should be considered an admission of guilt, but from my optics, being on the outside, just looking at everything played out, it just looks strange. It just looks strange. I also heard a vlogger say earlier, and I do not know how true this may be, but apparently this book or this memoir that several people have now, it's been said that it's been taken off of Amazon. Again, I do not know how true that may be, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. Next, the Donald. Former President Donald Trump. And to me, this is something very interesting. And I don't know if it's gaslighting, because you don't know with him sometimes. But in an interview earlier, he made a statement that if he did not win, this is it for him, and he would probably not run again. So there's an implication that if he does not win, he will not be running again. Now that's odd to me, because he has been adamant, extremely cheerful, But then he makes the statement today. So again, either he's gaslighting, or maybe he's grown tired. Maybe these couple of incidents that has occurred has made him think twice about how crazy people are and not wanting to deal with it. So that's another headliner that just came out. And then the last, which is a confusing story to me. Apparently, Janet Jackson, and you rarely hear her in any type of news. Oh, you're eating your lunch, twin. When do you sleep? You gotta get some sleep in. But enjoy your lunch, twin. Apparently, Janet Jackson may have made some comments as it relates to the race of Vice President Harris. Again, this is a confusing story because it's saying that she made an apology. She didn't know that. She didn't know her race, basically. She was just going on misinformation, I guess, from what she had heard because she's on tour. But this apology, if you will, according to the latest report, was not authorized. Someone else stated that. And they're saying that person isn't her manager, that in fact her brother Randy is her manager. So there's a little bit of confusion there. So even little Janet is getting caught up in mess. And I don't think that's going to be blown out of proportion, but that's been trending a little bit. So that's the quick recap. I'm very certain that many more things will come out as it relates to this Diddy case. And I just want to say this. And unfortunately, we all know that the truth sometimes yields unpopular opinions, and a lot of people are speaking about Justin Bieber. And I absolutely feel bad for him, but I also feel bad for the other young people that were caught up in the situation. Hey, they're together. How are you? But keep in mind, where does the accountability for the parents come in? Or are they off the hook? Usher was young when he was allowed to allegedly go with Diddy. Justin Bieber was young. A lot of these other up-and-coming artists were young. And if you look back at some of these videos, you could see the excitement Justin Bieber's face. Together says, would it be fair to say maybe the parents had no clue what was going on? Anything is fair, but at that age, to me, and again, dissent is good, but at that age, you just made a good point. They probably had no idea what was going on. But at the same time, would it be fair to say they should have known, or had some type of idea about who they let their children go with? Stories that we're hearing now, they're not new. I mean, they're extremely salacious right now, but I mean, this has happened before with major stars. And a lot of them were addicted to drugs and saw many things. I mean, look at Billie Holiday. Look at, what was his name? He sang Goody Goody. What was his name? It'll come to me. They are. They're extremely clever. And that's something to me, and again, it's just me, parents should be aware of too. Yes, Frankie Lyman, absolutely. And we saw what happened with him. Extremely talented, but he ended up addicted, and where nobody wanted to work with him anymore. And we all saw what ended up happening. So as I said, this isn't new at all. I just think there is more to the stories that's going to start coming out. I think there are going to be some people that may quickly have a change of venue. Together asks, do I think that the industry is going to change now? Absolutely not. No. I think that some things may change, but if these are indeed rituals, as many people are alluding to, if these are people who engage in paraphilia, then no, because those are addictions. Just like with Mark Robinson, who I spoke on briefly earlier, he was addicted to corn. You have people, men and women of the cloth, who are addicted to corn. Kirk Franklin, even while married, admitted he was addicted to porn. So to me, there are certain addictions that are extremely powerful, and you have to remember humans are visual creatures. I'm not in the industry. I've heard many stories. Some of them it's hard for me to believe, but with everything that is coming out and more that I pay attention to old videos that people are replaying, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. It's unfortunate because Diddy is super talented, in my opinion. Had great vision, but look at the price. And someone made a very poignant point today. He may be, and I'm not saying that this is true, but he may be reacting to what he may have seen or what he may have had to do to achieve or attain the levels for which he has. Yes, I remember he said his wife was about to leave him. Yes, so you can have an extremely beautiful wife or spouse or handsome husband. If that power, if that spirit is that strong, you can really get caught up in those. It's the same thing, and this is something I said I was going to talk about at another time at length, but it's just like these pastors or leaders in many of these churches, both men and women, who were in a lifestyle, put it this way, that goes against what the Bible says against same gender. I'll just say that. And I've said this before, I don't judge what people do or who they decide to love. But in saying that, who's to say that those urges for men and women of the cloth truly go away? When I did the live yesterday, I put up a quick screenshot of how Diddy allegedly grew up, being raised by his mom. His father apparently was unalived, and he went to an all-boys Catholic school. And we've heard, well, many of us have heard stories about the Catholic Church and altar boys. So if you look at all of that as a whole, for me, it's not a far reach. It's not a far reach. Now, where it gets fuzzy and gray for me is the allegations of the violence and the intimidation. I don't know how that or why that would have to play a role. I also question, and this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but it happens. those that knew and said nothing? Were they waiting for someone to muster up enough courage to speak out? Did many people keep quiet because fame was that important to them that they would endure whatever just to be in the industry? As I said, I've never been, never longed to be, so I don't know how that could affect someone's psyche. But I know, looking at certain people now and just looking back, things start to make sense. I mean, Usher, I believe, married someone a lot older than he was. And there's been some bizarre allegations coming out about him that I really don't want to believe, but at the end of the day, we don't know these people. We only know the persona that some of them present. We don't know what they do behind closed doors, unless things like this come out. There have been parties for years. 4 years. And there were young people involved as well. But this here, it seems as though there's another dynamic added on. So we will see what happens in the coming weeks. It's a mess, and I think by the time it's done and said, people, and I'm not referring to the actual artists, but perhaps politicians, who knows who could be named. I mean, we've seen already the photo ops with so many people. And again, you can take a picture with anyone. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've been involved in anything, but behavior such as having your social media scrubbed, that would raise an eyebrow. That would raise an eyebrow. So, the old adage, what's done in the dark will come to light, is absolutely 100% true, and it could take a very long time. But something happened to initiate all of this, and I don't know if Diddy is actually taking the fall for something or some entity that we're not even aware of. Who knows? That's just the thing. We really don't know at this time. There's so many moving parts. There's so many moving parts. But yep, that is the latest. It is almost midnight, so I am going to close this stream. I just wanted to talk about those few headlines that came through. Again, Mark Robinson, the Lieutenant Governor in North Carolina, where his chief staff has stepped down. the alleged scrubbing of Usher and Pink's Twitter posts. Donald Trump stating allegedly that if he does not win this election, and he's pretty confident they will, but if he doesn't, then he'll probably not run anymore. And then this confusing story about Janet making an apology about remarks made about Vice President Harris's race, which is again crazy. So it's a lot going on, and I'm going to assume it will continue up until the election and probably after. But everyone, thank you who tuned in. You all enjoy your night, your morning, your afternoon, depending upon where you go. Be safe. And till next video. Bye for now. Oh, I didn't see this one. That is a powerful spirit. I got caught up in the movies. It was crazy. It controlled my days for 6 months until I got delivered. Absolutely. I mean, addictions come in many forms, many forms. People would be surprised what type of addictions are out there. And the important thing is that you, number one, recognize it. Number two, I think it's probably more important that you have the courage enough to admit it and then seek help, seek deliverance. I had to turn away from some things, and I did back in 2018, and I haven't turned back. Has it been easy? Absolutely not. But I'm staying the course, and I think that's probably why I'm still around today, because I've been obedient. It's not to say that something would happen if I were not, because we do fall short, but I've been obedient, and I'm super happy with that. It takes a lot of discipline and faith and meditation. Still doesn't mean that I'm perfect, because I'm not. Still a work in progress, but I know what it is that I had to pray on to have removed, and it was, and I'm good with it. So, yes, those are indeed, in my opinion, spirits, and certain spirits are hard to break, and certain spirits don't mix with others at all. And if you know, certain people that may come around won't stay long, because you can feel a spirit that's not the same as yours, and they don't mix. They don't. So I'm going to close this out, but thank you to those that stopped by. I truly appreciate you, and everyone have a good and safe night. Bye for now.